Hello and welcome to this new section on risk identification and prediction in this course AI for Risk Management and Compliance Excellence. So in this section, we will give you a good idea of how can you use AI for excellence in risk identification and prediction. And in this particular lecture, we will talk about how can you use NLP to analyze news, social media, regulatory changes, and internal documents. So, how do you think you can use NLP to analyze news, social media, regulatory changes, and internal documents and identify and predict risk proactively? So, using NLP to do the risk identification and prediction is a very powerful way to detect emerging threats, you know, uh, compliance violations, and reputational risks by mining a vast amount of unstructured text data. And this text data could include things like news, regulatory updates, emails, and policies. So, as we go forward, let's understand a practical framework to help you understand, implement, and apply NLP to analyze news, social media, regulatory changes, and internal documentation. So the first step would be to define your risk signal, right? And there you need to clearly outline what risks you want to identify. And it could be fraud, money laundering, regulatory violations. It could be reputational risk, litigation, whistleblowing, or it could be ESG risks and cybersecurity threats. Now, a good example of defining these risk signals will be by a statement like detect news or tweets mentioning our brand in context of lawsuits, data breaches, or negative public sentiment. So that would be clearly defining your risk signals, right? The second thing you do is you collect unstructured text data. And how do you do that? You use APIs and scraping tools to gather the text content. Both of them you can use. And what are such tools and data sources? So for news articles, you could use GDELT, Lexis, Nexus, News API. For social media, you could use Twitter API, Sprinkler, Brandwatch. For regulatory updates, you could use Thomson Reuters, Ascent, Radar. And for internal documents, you could use your document repositories like PDF and DocX or email archives. So those are the places you need to go and the type of data that you need to collect for the uh, risk identification. Then you pre-process the text data. You clean and normalize the text to make it NLP ready. And there you do things like lower casing, punctuation and stop word removal, lemmatization and stemming, named entity recognition, and sentence segmentation. And what are the libraries and tools and techniques you can use for this purpose? You have spacing, NLTK, transformers, and Gensim. These are the various things, libraries that you can use to pre-process the text data. The fourth thing is to then extract risk relevant information. There you can use advanced NLP techniques to extract risk signals, right? And there are four of them we will talk about here. First one is named entity recognition, NER, which identifies organization, people, dates, monetary amounts, and law references using simple Python codes like this, programs. Then second is a topic modeling or clustering where you can group documents used by risk themes using techniques like, LDA, BERT, uh, embeddings, BERT embeddings, and plus k-means. Third will be sentiment and emotional analysis where you can detect negative sentiment and outrage in media or social posts. And then you need to look for spikes in fear, anger, and dissatisfaction. And the last thing is text, sorry, text classification, where you can train custom models. You can fine tune the BERT to classify whether a piece of text relates to a specific risk, whether it is a fraud, non-compliance, etc., etc. So that's how you can extract risk relevant information. Then you need to, you can do real time monitoring and alerts. You can set up pipelines that flag content matching your risk criteria. You can use for that, you can use streaming pipelines like Kafka Plus, NLP service to monitor live data feeds. And there, with that, you can trigger alerts when risk thresholds or keyword frequencies spike. So that's how the real time monitoring and alerting can happen. Then you aggregate, visualize, and predict. You build dashboards to visualize trends over a period of time, like sudden rise in lawsuit mentions. You feed extracted signals into predictive risk models, and there you can do risk scoring by department or geography. So that's how the aggregation and visualization and prediction happens. Then let's take a look at use case as an example. It's a use case of regulatory risk from changing laws, and the data sources were EU Parliament and US Federal Register feeds. The NLP used entity recognition to detect industries and jurisdictions affected, and they used text classification to tag whether a law impacts data privacy, taxation, or reporting. And the output was the notification on legal and to legal and compliance team if the changes were tagged urgent or likely to affect our operations. So that's a good example of a use case. What are the tools and libraries you can use? There are many. You can, if you want to do, if your purpose is NLP core, if you want to use NLP core, you could use Spacey, NLTK, Hugging Face Transformers. Then if you want to do the topic modeling, you can use Gensim and BERT topic. And if you want to do real-time processing, you can use Apache Kafka Spark NLP. And for sentiment and emotion detection, you could use Wadir, TextBlock, Finbird. For dashboarding, the familiar Power BI, Tableau, Kibana. And for pre-built platforms, you could use Dataminr, Crux Informatics, and Quantexa. So these are the variety of tools and libraries you can use. So let's take a look at NLP use in action of an HSBC case. Now, HSBC uses NLP to monitor news articles for geographical and financial crime risk, for internal communication, for conduct risk, for regulatory announcements to update compliance playbooks. And the result? What is the result? They've been able to do faster detection of high risk developments, and they are better informed by taking decisions by the compliance officers. So that's a real life NLP use case of HSBC. So what do we do next? So in the risk identification prediction, we will now take a look at how can you use machine learning models to detect patterns and anomalies in historical data, using transactions and network logs to identify and predict risk. So thank you so much for watching this first risk identification and prediction lecture. I hope you're continuing to learn new things, continuing to enjoy, and I do look forward to see you again in the next lecture. Please feel free to message me if you have any questions. I'll be happy to answer your questions, and do download the PDF file to take a look at anything that you need to.